Good point. 3rd and 4. Run skill a block. Going deep. Purdy's got him. Touchdown. Kittle and the lead.
Trailing by 7 going for it, but that's why they call him Riverboat Ron. He's going to make those decisions and believe in it.
2nd down 9. The fake and the fire. It's Kittle getting a block downfield, and a good one it was by Jennings. He's in again. He cannot be stopped. 33-yard catch-and-run touchdown. George Kittle has scored for the 4th time in 2 games. It is 1st and goal. McCaffrey banging into his own blocker, takes it with ease, a 1-yard touchdown run. And the Niners tying up in a bow this Christmas present of a win against the Washington Commanders.
This is nothing but that sports talk.
Yeah, your Commanders caught the San Francisco smoke as I woke you to this episode of Nothing But That Sports Talk with Rafique Louison alongside Kelsey Nicole Nelson. She still covers the Commanders, and she's now working for Bally Sports, and that's one of her accomplishments in 2023. Welcome to the show. 2022.
Thank you. But you know what? I'm also ready for 2023. But look, you chose violence going on the Commanders early. Many Commanders fans are still hurt after that loss on Saturday. But no, thank you so much for having me. A pleasure to join you. And I'm honestly just so proud of the work that you do and the growth that you continue to have in this industry. So all claps and all props to you.
Yeah, I got to work for Renee Washington and Planted Not Buried this year.
Yeah, which is amazing. Congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah, so you know what? Before we get to the football, we're on the subject. Why don't you talk? What are your overall thoughts on the work that me and Renee Washington put in for the Plant to Not Buried, the nonprofit organization, which is all about growth, outreach, networking, and community.
I love that. You know, you just touched on it. I think you and Renee have done a fabulous job. I'm all about good vibes and positivity, and that's exactly what the organization does. And I think, you know, the world needs more of that. There's a lot that happens. I think we just have to remember as, you know, humanity, that there are good things that happen in the world and we need to spread that joy. You never know, you know, what's going to make somebody smile and how that can change somebody's life. And then also, I just love seeing Black businesses thrive, minority-owned businesses thrive, women-owned businesses thrive. So I'm very proud of Renee and I'm very proud of her adding you to her team. You are a talent. You are a hard worker. Since I met you, you've always been grinding for opportunities. And I'm someone that truly believes good things happen to good people. So I'm just excited to continue to see the organization's growth, which has been amazing. And so folks better check it out and get behind it. Because again, you can't have enough positivity in your life. So this is definitely the show and organization to be behind.
Exactly. You know what? During this entire year, ever since I started working with Planted Not Buried, I've had Faith Jesse, who's now, well, at the time she was
yes, she had to move up. Yes.
Now she's working at A Live in NBC4. You can check her out on the A Live app.
Yeah, I love that. So proud of her. And she happens to be my soror, so even more proud of her. Love that.
I fell in love with Faith. She gave us so much, literally.
That is awesome.
Panel that we at Planted Not Buried put together, and then of course I managed to cover you what's the reporter Tarika Foster Presby and Mikhail.
Oh yeah, Tarika's killing it. Yeah, Mikhail. Yeah.
Well, Mikhail's for the ESPN Next program. I thought you had to be a recent graduate to work for them, but that's a conversation for off the air. But anyways, the fact that we managed to put all that together in 2022 to make the business grow as much as it actually can, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I even had my old friend from Canarsie, Stacey Pierre, who's a lawyer, who I had Shantae, who's contributed to Nothing But That Sports Talk Line.
Wonderful.
Did a phenomenal job for short and sweet entertainment. So feel free to check out her stuff. So that's just a little bit of what we do. I mean, yes, it's a sports show, but we gotta give recognition to people that are not working in sports at some points.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the great thing about sports, right? Is that it touches everything. That's why I love working in sports. It's not always going to be about the X's and O's. It's those stories that you're telling that connect folks. And I think that's what's so special about it. So again, you've just done a phenomenal job highlighting just great stories in media and journalism. And that's what it's about. Because I think, you know, a lot of times people don't know what they don't know. And so when you expose them to these great stories that all these great people have, you might touch one or two or 20 or 2,000 people's lives. And I think that's just what's so exciting. All the people you mentioned, I'm so proud of them. I know they're going to continue to excel. 2023 is right around the corner. So I'm like, let's get it. I just see more good vibes and good things happening for folks. So as you said, it's a sports show, but sports touches everything. So you get to touch everything, which is fun.
Yeah, and I get to touch upon you for like the third time, and I hope that you get more appearances as
We always have good conversations. See, third time's the charm.
and as we push towards the 2022 NFL playoffs, but your commander is still hanging around. But I'm gonna get to your Commanders in a minute because
the Commanders I work for. Because remember, I'm a Ravens fan, but the Commanders that I cover.
Oh, okay. We'll get to your Ravens. We'll get to your Ravens in a minute. We'll get to your Ravens in a minute. But let's continue talking about 2022. Like one of your best.
Yeah.
Like I know you got a chance to work with Brittney Robinson at Bally Sports, at least for the NBA playoffs. What would do your mind when you got the opportunity to work for a platform that's literally used to be Fox Sports Network before they transitioned into Bally Sports?
Right. Yeah. So Bally Sports, which is under Sinclair, as you mentioned, used to be with Fox Sports, but it was amazing, for me to be a DC girl that had the opportunity to cover basketball on a national level. There's nothing better than that. And then to do it with one of my good friends and colleagues and Brandon Scoopy Robinson, just even better. It was very fun. The playoffs last year, could we have asked for any better? So much fun. And then getting, of course, to see the Warriors be able to kind of finish off a storytell ending. But Bally was amazing and fun. It was really great too, because I got to stay in DC where I am based and do everything virtually, which I also really appreciated them being so accommodating. But basketball, I love. And so it was amazing. I feel like I got welcomed with open arms to the Bally's and really helped to expose more people to Bally's and Bally Sports and the great work that they do. So again, it was a nice little check off my bucket list to do some national coverage, and just forever thankful for my Bally Sports family.
Yeah, and I watch how you and Brittney Robinson break down every NBA team right down the middle, like the Brooklyn Nets right on TV screen, the smoke of the Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, that's what's so fun about basketball season. It's never dull. And, being able to balance, like right now, balancing basketball and football, my mind is everywhere because there's just so much stuff happening. But this is why this is the best time of the year for sports fans. But especially, after Super Bowl is when I really focus in and hone in on basketball, because then football's done. But as you said, I mean, the storylines could we ask for any better? We've just seen Aaron Gordon have this amazing dunk. We've seen LeBron James' shoe come off during an assist. Like, this is just in the last couple of days. We've seen the Lakers turn around their season. And so this is what we love about the NBA season. And as you said, the Celtics, taking off, Miami Heat, us having questions about, right? And then, the Warriors, I think still trying to find their groove and footing, but still being the Warriors team, and Steph Curry still being Steph Curry. So there's so many great things that you could touch on. And this is why I love the NBA, and this is why I love basketball. John Morant getting the signature shoe. Is there enough storylines, Rafique? Everything is happening right now in basketball. So, I couldn't be in a better position to cover one of the sports that I've loved since I was a little girl.
Yeah, exactly. And I couldn't be in a position to cover the WNBA virtually for 3 years.
Yes, and I love that you're covering that. So the WNBA is so important, in the words of Ari James.
Last time we spoke, I managed to get interviews with some NBA players myself. I interviewed
awesome.
Adem, Damian Lillard, who else? Bam Adebayo during the 2020 Tokyo Olympics.
I love it.
Last time we spoke, and then of course there's a viral interview with Diana Taurasi that even the Overtime Women's Basketball page managed to catch.
That's amazing. Great work.
Obliterated by the Chicago Sky, and then of course some of the interviews I've done in last year's WNBA finals for the Connecticut.
Amazing. I love that. We need more men covering it. So I think you're a perfect example of why it's so important for all of us to cover the WNBA, and just the great things that can happen when you cover and put attention and money and effort behind covering the WNBA.
And if you see all my interviews with the WNBA, including the demos, especially the ones of the reels that I just sent you, you would know the narrative. You would get my perspective on the type of discussions that the WNBA players have.
Oh yeah, they have the important conversations. And speaking of important conversations, I am so glad that we finally got Brittney Griner back home where she belongs with her family, and that she was able to spend the holidays with her family. So special thank you for all the work that the Biden administration did to get her back home, all the people behind the scenes. But again, just glad Brittney Griner is back. Her story transcended just the WNBA. Obviously, she was playing overseas, and that goes to another conversation of what a lot of WNBA players have to do to make actual money and make real money, right, as basketball athletes and players, getting detained and then being locked up for obviously way too long, but nonetheless got her back home where she belongs. And I'm excited that she'll be playing this season for the Mercury. So, I'm glad that she obviously feels like that might be where her piece is, but obviously that's where she feels like her place is. And I think we're in for a treat this season. So again, just excited. We got BG back on the basketball court. And it's just so amazing to see how the WNBA never let their foot up and continue to support their sister. And that's what's needed more in sports.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? While we're on the subject, when you talk about Brittney Griner, that's one of the top storylines that we've had in the year 2022. I mean, as you observe the whole coverage and the angle and everything that's been going on with Brittney Griner when she got locked up for doing drugs, which, like, what went through your mind when that whole situation happened at the beginning?
Yeah, I think at the beginning, I was like most people, like, wait, what? She's getting locked up in Russia for what? And like, it just didn't make any sense to me. And obviously, we learned more about the oil in the suitcase, and we know other countries have different laws. But then to see her have to go through the court proceeding and trials and just kind of knowing it wasn't going to be fair for her, I was honestly fearful, very fearful for Brittney Griner. I mean, I couldn't imagine, being, a Black, queer woman athlete in another country and then being locked up and detained and just really not understanding what's happening, and so many people trying to work to get you out, but you're literally in prison-like conditions, I don't think anyone should have to go through that, so I think for Brittney Griner, if I was fearful, I can only imagine Rafique, how she felt actually being in that situation. And, just knowing that, other countries have different rules. We didn't know, what we see her, we went times without seeing her or hearing from her. And we had to wait for her wife to say, if she had been able to talk to her. So it was just a bad situation. So I think when I first heard it, I was confused, I was shocked, I was fearful, and I was just trying to think, like, how can we get Brittney Griner back home? And so, of course, months and months later, we finally did. But that's just, again, a special thanks to everyone that sent a tweet, that wore a T-shirt, anyone who did anything. Thank you that Brittney Griner is now finally back home.
Exactly. And you know what? Whether you're a reporter that makes whatever amount of money you make from your reporting assignments that you have, or a Black man to podcast said, you aware of how important Brittney Griner is to the sports industry and
right.
every other work industry that you can think of. I mean, come
right.
on. As long as she was to doing drugs, the discipline and punishments that the lady went through when she was up there was a little extreme.
Right. And that's when, that's when I feel like I had to put my public policy hat on, an international relations hat, because it was extreme to us. But again, that was Russia's rules, and this is why when you travel overseas, you just have to be so careful anytime you're traveling overseas, because not everybody has our same American belief system, right? And our same set of rules and laws and regulations. And again, what she did here would have been maybe a tap on the wrist, right? If even that. Because obviously she was traveling with it, but another country, and that's why I think it was hard too for some people to conceptualize, because we just, Russia's one of those countries we just don't know a lot about, right? We know a lot about Putin and his kind of strict laws and what he does, but we haven't really been able to be let inside, right? And we know, like, they just kind of do things their own way. And so I think that's why many of us we just didn't really know what to expect. And I think that's why so many of us just felt for her, because there were so many question marks that really nobody could answer. So all that to say, as you said, I mean, I thought the discipline did not meet the alleged quote crime that she committed, and it was just sad, because I think she was used as a scapegoat, honestly, and used as leverage for Russia to ultimately get what they want. And you never want to be a political pawn. And I hate Brittney Griner having to go through that. But I think this experience, well, obviously it was a true testament, I think, to her faith. She mentioned how she kept faith throughout, and so thankful for her family, friends, and loved one for helping her to keep faith throughout. And finally, we got her again back home where she belongs. And so I think, all of us just learned a big lesson. And I hope a lot of people learned a lesson, because, I know there's some people, Rafique, that were like, they didn't think the trade, quote unquote, was fair and stuff like that. To those people, stop it. We got an American citizen back home where she belongs, while also still trying to work to get another citizen back home where they belong. And America had to do the deal that was on the table. Brittney Griner's back, and obviously we will never forget and will not stop trying to get Paul Whelan back home as well.
Exactly. Would you rather Brittney Griner do 9 years for unfair drug charge that she wasn't aware of when she went down there? I mean, seriously. I didn't really talk about it much until this young lady named Erica Ayala, who's the founder for Black Rose Media, brought it up on the show before it started WNBA season. Because we have so many other topics to talk about in sports than just the Brittney Griner situation 2022, which we will get into later in the show. But the fact of the matter is that So when Erica brought it up, I was like, you know what? Let me just talk about it because I get why
important.
why it's important to sports culture. And then this young girl, Aya, who's currently a student at Arizona State University, who's a Phoenix Mercury fan. She did this rant talking about how upset that she was when Brittney Griner got it up. She was pretty heartbroken. It was nearly months prior to that we celebrated her stuffing the mess out of Adem Wilson in the playoffs, and then now she locked up. And you know what? Now that the situation's over, I better be talking about her stuff in the stat sheet and not getting locked up, almost getting locked up in Russia again.
Right, like you said. And that's what it's about now, right? Moving forward. She's obviously moving forward. She's going back to the court and the game that she loved, the game that she has loved for a very long time. And I think that's a testament, again, to what basketball is for some people, right? This escape, it's their life. It's what they truly love to do. And this is why we are going to see Brittney Griner back on the basketball courts. I think for basketball fans, I think she'll tell us in her own time if she wants to, maybe, some more details on what she had to go through, but that's all up to her. And this is making sure that we give people grace and then we give people space to be able to do that. So again, Brittney Griner knows she's loved, we're all behind her, but she's probably still accumulating, back to society, back to life, right? She was over there for months and months and months and months and months. And now just finally getting back home, nobody knows what she went through, but you can only imagine. So it's important we talk about, and this is, again, why when people say sports are political, this is a perfect example of how sports are political, right, Rafique? I mean, this was a quote unquote sports athlete that touched political realms in an international sense, right? So this took us into international relations. And so this is why I'm always going to say, whenever people say sports are political, sports have and always will be political.
Exactly. And you know what? On to another topic that we witnessed in 2022. I mean, for you, Kelsey, what are some of your favorite stories in sports, not just with the games, but the stories in general that you witnessed throughout this entire calendar year?
Oh my gosh, there's so many I could touch on. I loved Chris Paul graduating. Always love to see players go back. Yes, I love that. And speaking of HBCUs, what Deion Sanders did for Jackson State University, also so huge, making them back a competitive force in the SWAC. And I think he forced us to have a real conversation, which is also just obviously super important. This year also kind of being our first kind of real, back to normal year since the pandemic. It was also just great to, again, kind of just see kind of life get back to some type of normalcy, right? And sports and fans being able to celebrate and enjoy, much like they did pre-COVID. So I think that was also huge. JJ Watt and his story, I mean, literally going back to the football field after almost dying. I mean, did you see that story, Rafique? Like the fact that JJ Watt back on the football field, I mean,
yeah, I've heard about that.
Incredible. I mean, incredible. So I thought that was just another, just great story. I mean, there's so many I can pinpoint. I think those are some of the biggest. Serena Williams, oh my gosh, and watching kind of what for now is like,
so we can't forget about that. I mean,
had to mention that one.
Even though she know very well she's not going to win, she went out like a boss.
What do you mean she knew she wasn't going to win? I don't think she went into that match thinking.
I mean, come on.
I mean, it was going to be tougher.
She was down like 2 sets.
It was going to be tougher. It was going to be tougher. But I think that's what made her.
Match. Let's be real, and we love Serena.
It would have been hard. I think to your point, it would have been hard. But the reason why you have goats like Serena and Steph Curry and is because goats do the impossible, right? I mean, like right now we're talking about that in football. Tom Brady, we thought he was done and gone, and lo and behold, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are slowly doing this Rafique, right? Creeping back into the playoffs. And a lot of teams don't want to face a playoff Tom Brady, no matter how.
The Giants beat Tom Brady twice. So what's your excuse? What's their excuse? We never lost to Tom Brady in the playoffs.
Okay, but so this is a different season. This is a different Tom Brady. So all that to say, it's kind of like Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers potentially going to the playoffs. So I say all that to say, when you have a GOAT, you can never underestimate a GOAT. You never know what they're going to do. I think that's what Serena is. And I think, of course, we wanted her to go off winning that Farewell Tour, but she gave us some damn good memories and some memories that we forever hold on to. For now, we know she's gone from the game, but who knows? I mean, Serena's always somebody that can surprise us, and you just never know. But, she eluded the game of tennis, a business owner, a mother, a wife, and so much more. And the amount of people that she brought back to tennis. And talking about GOATs, also just, I think this year, too, what we've been able to see Tiger Woods and his son Charlie accomplishing too, right, has just been, amazing. Tiger Woods being able to come back from his injury, but then also what he's been able to do with his son and making his son just a true powerhouse in the golf world as well. So that's been fun. So in the FIFA World Cup, I guess I could say too, like it was just fun, right, to watch that. Team USA didn't go as far as wanted to, but it's great to see the Americans rallying behind soccer.
Yeah, Argentina.
Argentina, everybody loved Messi, and then Mbappe, everybody loved from France, and he's put a big name, in the world for himself. So I think that was just also fun. There's a million sports stories I could touch on, but those are the ones I think that come top of mind that just, make me smile.
Yeah, you know what? Well, when we talk on some other stories that you left out, Sue Birds' final season. Yeah.
Yes, I forgot Sue Birds' final season. That was huge.
Unfortunately, Sue Bird and Seattle Storm ended up losing to Las Vegas Aces in the WNBA semifinals. I mean, it's not like to say it was a cakewalk either because Sue Bird did what she could to keep the game close in game 2, but then Jackie Young she even hit a 3-pointer to take the lead in the third quarter,
right.
But then Jackie Young came back and tied it up, and then they lost.
Right.
And then of course, game 4 with the Aces was a knockout blow. What was literally the year of the Aces, which we'll touch upon in a minute. But what has Sue Bird meant to the sports culture, in your opinion? As long as
oh my gosh. So I grew up with WNBA basketball. Rafique. I grew up going to Washington Mystics games, watching Lena Beard, Coco Miller, and so many other greats. But I have to say, Sue Bird. You just talk about one of the GOATs in women's basketball. A woman that has done it on all levels and has eluded and accelerated and has, found success on all levels. I think Sue Bird has really helped to transform the game and helped to grow the game in a positive way. And the game truly will miss her. I think we saw that on the farewell tour. You saw the fans there and the signs being held up for Sue. She really does that. She brought so much love to the game. She brought her passion, her heart. You think about the good crop that she came from. I think, Sue is, again, she's just one of the best to ever do it, right? Let's just speak in layman terms and just speak facts to that. So again, I think, her legacy will be, it's going to be hard to follow up on, but we will forever remember and thank her for all her contributions. And I think she just shows, again, I think she shows women can do it all. Now, women deserve the same attention that men get when playing, not just basketball, but sports in general, being a leader and talking out about so much.
Women's sports get attention from me and
Thank you, Sam. They do, but me and you, it shouldn't just be me and you. It should be a lot more, right? These are American athletes playing sports. And, I think to me, women should get as much or more attention than the men. Sue Bird playing on the highest level of basketball. So all that to say, it's the media's job to come more to games, right? It's fans' jobs to come more to games. And the biggest thing, we have to make sure we're passing this on to the next generation, right? So they can continue to follow in our footsteps. So again, thank you, Sue. I know that was a hashtag and words folks were saying during her farewell tour, but you're right. That was one of the highlights, I think, this year. Maybe not the best highlight, because it might be bittersweet for some, right? Because some are just going to really see her, just be sad to see her go from a game that she played so long.
Yeah, exactly. Next year, the WNBA is going to be strange without Sue Bird playing.
I know.
See her. Well, there were some down years that Sue Bird has. I'm not going to hold you on that one. But when they are winning a lot, she's just tough to guard. I see it behind the backstage. Tasha Howard. Sadly, it's better than Maria Johannes behind the back pass her in the playoffs. But
one of the best, right? Sue Bird is
one of the best to ever do it.
One of the best to ever do it. And that's why. And then also, let's remember where she came from. You remember where she came from for college?
New York.
Well, that too, but I'm at UConn. Yes, but you're right, from New York. Yes, and that's what I'm saying. So she touches so many facets of basketball. You talk about New York. New York has been a mecca for basketball. UConn has been a breeding ground, right, for great women's basketball players. So Sue Bird comes from all of this and touches all of this. And again, this is why she brought so many people to the game. And then just seeing her love off the court with her wife. It's just Sue Bird again. It's just hard not to like somebody like her with all that she's been doing and has done for women's sports and the game of basketball.
Yeah, as you've been following her, come on, the lady had like 4 championships, the most recent one being done in the WNBA Wobble. So
she's amazing, and she, like I said, and I feel like this. I think people just like the passion that she brings, to the game. And then lo and behold, she just happens to be in a power couple relationship with Megan Rapinoe. This woman she wins on and off the court, Rafique. So again, I think that's why she's so loved.
Yeah, you know what? Before she came out, I wouldn't think that Sue Bird would be gay, but it is what it is. Her and Diana Taurasi are two of the best.
It's love is love, right? And people love who they love, and I think that's what's so great too about the WNBA. What they push for, for when you think about marriage rights and gay rights. It's so important. And again, this is why sports are political, why sports matter. And so I think, it shouldn't be anybody should have to hide who they love or where they love. And so, again, that's why I think it's so important for us to see couples like Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe, because everybody likes what they like. And I think that's what's so beautiful about America, that we have the option to do that in a country like this.
Yeah. And of course, yeah, and now I'll touch upon another sports story that I felt, in my personal opinions, were the best stories that we've ever seen. St. Peter's run to the Elite Eight. My God.
Yes. Oh, yes. That was fun. We love that underdog story.
You got past Murray State, where Ja Morant went to. You defeated Purdue. You barely defeated Purdue at the J9 missed a game-tying shot. You can tell that atmosphere down in St. Peter's, New Jersey was ridiculous.
As it should have been. And we love March Madness because we love the underdog story.
You know how we feel about March Madness.
We love that. I remember covering UMBC when UMBC had that crazy run, right? In March Madness.
Virginia, but sadly, St. Peter's did it better.
Right. But all that to say, March Madness, that's why it's called March Madness, right? We love it. We always have your powerhouse programs in college sports, but it's those underdogs, those upsets. And I think basketball is a sport where obviously you get that a lot more, because you can have one player go off, right? And next thing you know, boom, and another team have a bad day. And so you're right, that was one of the better stories. Enrollment went up at the university after, dollars went up for the school for fundraising and so much more. And that's why March Madness is also big, because so many schools are relying on that money and the attention that it brings. So, we always love to see a small dog go far. I think we all wish they would have went farther, but nonetheless, one of the best.
Yeah, you ran into North Carolina, and let's be real, North Carolina was bound to was due to make it to the championship round, and then they choked to Kansas.
Yes. You just heard a lot of hearts right now. You just heard a lot of heart for those that were rooting for them. But yes, exactly.
Oh yeah, speaking of North Carolina, and when now you were just talking about North Carolina College's university itself, I'm talking about Duke, North Carolina. We got to make sure we can't forget about his career-ending loss to the Tar Heels in the Final Four. And it was the first matchup between two North Carolina. Now, Kelsey Nicole Nelson, if you follow college, for somebody that you didn't necessarily play college sports. I remember you were for the last when you came on the show the first time. You started playing football after high school, but you attended two high quality colleges in Maryland. But none of them will compare. They've had good rivalries in the old separate conferences, but none of them will compare to North Krzyzewski versus Duke. And it happened in the Final Four earlier this year.
Wow. I might be biased.
When you saw the whole entire their final season from Mike Krzyzewski, what went through your mind?
First, let me put a disclaimer out for those that don't know, and I'm actually wearing the color. So this is terrapin red, all right? I went to the University of Maryland, so I never will like Duke, and I have a problem with University of North Carolina always. But all that to say, my personal feelings aside, I thought that was so special. What Coach K did for basketball. Coach K is part of the reason why folks from Maryland don't like Duke, because we remember those epic ACC battles of Maryland was in the ACC.
What you expect? Duke is the GOAT. Duke is a good team. They have a good franchise.
But that's why it's a rivalry. Rivalries don't come when a team is bad, right? Rivalries happen when teams are good, and this is what Duke has done. They really elevated. Coach K helped to elevate the game of basketball. Look at all the great players that he helped to produce. Everybody wanted to go to Duke and play for Coach K.
But not everybody does. You went to Maryland. You saw Maryland towards Duke.
Oh, of course. But again, that's why it's a rivalry. If Duke ever went down, Coach K wouldn't be having a send-off tour. Why he's having a send-off tour? Duke, yes, obviously he's had a lot of winning, but yes, we've seen some bad games from Duke. And I think that last season for Coach K, he saw some unexpected games for Duke. But all that to say, Duke, when Duke came to town, one, they traveled well, right? Everybody wanted to come see Duke basketball play because he put it at that elite of top levels in basketball. And so I think all that to say, what he did for college basketball, the games that he gave us, the games that you stay up and watch because you had to see Duke play, that was Coach K. And I think Coach K, again, one of the just cemented goats of college basketball. And I think college basketball, man, I miss the old ACC, just fun times in college hoops. And Duke was always that team that people wanted to lose. You just got tired of seeing them win. But, large reason why I got was Coach K. And so, I'm just thankful for him. This is why this was such a special year. You're right, Rafique. There's so many sports stories that we can literally touch on. But that was definitely one of the ones that, we just...
Yeah, we can't see...
You got to move on, but... it's true. But, it was hard. We love Coach K. But, you wish they could have done better, obviously. But, it is what it is. And, now he's on the greener pastures, and Duke basketball will continue to move on.
Exactly. And you know what? will always remember Mike Krzyzewski. And you know what we'll
Oh, for sure.
You know what we'll always remember as we transition into women's basketball? South Carolina, Asia Wilson's college alma mater win the national championship for the women's side, defeating
Yes.
the first college team to ever defeat UConn for the women's side. I mean, I know the men's side's undefeated, but that's a conversation for another episode. Sorry, you may not get a chance to come on and talk about it. But anyways, like that championship team with South Carolina, you can tell they were hungry for a championship when they defeated Howard in the first round, the first HBCU team to win
that one hurt.
To win an NCAA tournament game.
That one hurt so Rafique. That was a bad
the other team. Even after that, I mean, there were some close games. Even last year, South Carolina had a close game where Allie Boston was crying when she couldn't hit that putback layup to get to the next round against Stanford. But she was hungry for that moment. So, yeah. What are your thoughts on the championship run for South Carolina?
Don Staley. I mean, what that South Carolina.
Put some respect on Don Staley, please.
Yes, what that basketball program has been able to build. And as you said, what she's been able to accomplish, not just as a coach, but as a Black woman head coach. I love to see it. And South Carolina is obviously just one of those teams, that she's just helped to just make a powerhouse, right? I mean, and everybody has just, you talk about Asia. I mean, there's so many that team was so fun to watch. Who didn't want to watch that? If you're a women's basketball fan, you were watching that team, what they were able to do, just dominating wins, good games, that's all we could ask for. Her on the sidelines, giving it her all, but then also I think what she transcends, off the basketball court, right? I mean, she stood for so much more, never afraid to speak up about things or speak out about things. And I think that's also what makes her just so much special as a coach, because we need so much more of that. Going back to Brittney Griner, who was one of the biggest supporters and speaking outers of Brittney Griner coming back home, was Coach Don Staley, right? I mean, she was one of the absolute biggest. And if you want to talk about women's basketball at the time where people were like, hey, Coach Kim Mulkey, can you say something? And we didn't hear her say anything, right? Until Brittney got home. So I say all that to say, I think South Carolina is just, they're fun. And with her at the helm, we're just going to continue to want to watch them. And I think she makes the sport of women's basketball just so much better, so much more competitive. For folks that aren't watching women's basketball, one of the criticisms that they say is, oh, it's always UConn doing well and UConn winning. We always know who's going to win, i.e. insert South Carolina now, right? Giving a big push and so many more programs if you really watch, but just saying what some of the negative doubters and haters say, Rafique. So all that to say, she's made college basketball that much more competitive, and the South Carolina team now is always going to be a team to watch.
Yeah, even though they won one during Asia Wilson's time there, you can't take away for the one they won during Aaliyah Boston, because Aaliyah Boston left a legacy for that program.
Oh my gosh, yes. And we were all talking about her. And like you said now, the legacy that's being left. And I'm just so, so happy for the South Carolina team and what they've been able to build. And until Rafique, again, I'm just so glad that you're bringing up these women's basketball teams, and they're important. So again, thank you for doing your work and your research. And to everyone out there, if you don't know about them, do your research and find out about them, because they are the team that did that.
Yeah.
So I have to shout them out. So I love that. So cute. And then also, if you think about just what it was, for Asia Wilson, Rafique to also have a statue, right?
She supports our franchise during her time there.
You did something when you get a statue, all right? You did something when you get a statue. So I think that, again, just speaks to the program.
Yeah, you know what? Since you talk about Asia Wilson, let's just transition into Las Vegas, because that's pretty much a better way for me to transition to the Vegas championship run, as opposed to earlier in the episode where I was just talking about them defeating the Seattle Storm during well season. And I talked about the Aces championship season when I had Trina Barbie from Anointed Radio on the show earlier this year. Well, and we listened to the press conference where they talk about how excited they were to finally get that championship ring and to finally become the first Las Vegas sports area team to get a world championship, since the Vegas Golden Knights couldn't get it done when they reached that far in the Stanley Cup. But you know what? It's whatever. The Golden Knights will have their moment. It's all about the Aces in 2022. The season came up Aces.
I love it.
What are your thoughts on Asia Wilson finally and a WNBA championship to add on to a national championship, and MVP again, and Becky Hammond being coach of the year, as well as the Commissioner's Cup against Chicago Sky, even though, let's be honest, it's a championship to me.
Asia's continuing to cement her legacy. There continues to be now nothing that she can't do or conquer. And, I want to shout out Las Vegas really quick, because I think they do one of the best jobs of marketing their WNBA team. Every time I go into the Las Vegas airport, you see Las Vegas Aces, you see them advertised from the airport your hotel. I mean, they're everywhere. And honestly, till this day, I don't know if I've seen a city advertise their WNBA team better. So I really think that they can be an example and a role model for all other cities. If you want to get folks behind it, you got to keep putting it out there, right? Putting it in people's faces. So I absolutely love that about the city of Las Vegas. And like you said, what they were able to do and accomplish, and especially for the city of Las Vegas, so special, so fun to watch. I think they had one of the most fun championship celebrations too that I've ever seen. You can tell that team truly does love each other, and they played for each other. And I think that's what made it all the more awesome and all the more special. And Coach Becky, we just love to see it. Well deserved. We know. I think we all just want so much more for her because we know what she can do at the highest of high levels, and she proved herself with this job. So again, congrats to Coach Becky and the entire squad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it would have been nice for them to get done during the Bill Lambier era. I mean, I've been covering the Aces since that era, since the Wubble season. But let's be honest, this is even bittersweeter because you're doing that in Becky Hammon's first year as a coach. It was a position that was long overdue, that she should have gotten early in the season, but she was a part of the coaching staff for the San Antonio Spurs. But it's good that she got a ring as a coach at least.
Exactly. And I think that's what we all want. Because I think she's amazing, right? I don't think you'll see anybody that says anything bad about her. So I think we just thought this was well deserved, and it just continues to show her worth and her value and just how talented she is.
Yeah, and there's a lot of important sports stories. And and if you haven't known already, Nothing But That Sports Talk, I break down some of the best news stats and everything from college to the pros. And don't worry, we have like 20 more minutes before we wrap up. But yeah, let's just talk about some of the sports movies that came out earlier this year. The first one being Hustle by Adem Sandler, and the second one being Point Gods, a documentary. We gotta touch upon that one because I feel like those movies really brought out the best in sports culture. I mean, touching upon Point Gods, you talk about some of the best point guards in New York City that ever made their landmarks, not just in the pros, but throughout the high school days. I mean, we never talk enough about their talents, from Rod Strickland to the late Pearl Washington. May God rest his soul.
So much talent. Yeah, I mean, you just
watch that movie or acknowledge that. Like, what went through your mind?
You just said everything that needed to be said. I think so many people just don't know about, I'll say the Godfathers or, the Trailblazers that came before them. And New York is just one of those meccas of talent when it comes to basketball. I mean, you could name so many people, but I think it's just, especially for the young people, I think, to know, some of those people that they should know coming out of there. So I was so glad that came out. And then to your other point about Hustle, that movie was amazing. Adem Sandler killed that role. I mean, I feel like I was just emotional.
So does E5 and on Willie Hurry Gomez guy.
Really killed his too. Yeah, I mean, that was amazing. Like, I feel like you just felt for him, right? Like, you wanted him to succeed and wanted him to win. And then, I just thought that was just very well done. I'm a person that loves sports movies. I'm a Friday Night Lights, Remember the Titans, $1 Million Baby. So I love sports movies.
Coach Carter, all those
movies,
all those movies. But those movies,
so that one goes up there. Those are also classics. Yeah, but I thought Hustle was just as good. I mean, it just touched on so many different things, which I thought was great. You saw a lot of famous faces in it. And usually when I see a lot of famous people, I'm not always a big fan of that because it's hard to see them in that role. But Hustle was able to balance it out in a way. And again, I just thought it was very well done. And it was a film I think everybody could get behind. I think we were all talking about it, So I thought, again, just great movies that came out this year that were fun to see.
Yeah, and I never thought I enjoyed watching basketball movies again in this era, but these movies did it for me.
They were good. I know. That's why I said it's not easy to do sports, especially to make something that's like a sports classic. But I feel like that goes up there. I feel like that's one of the sports movies now that like you just had to have watch. And that's hard to do, as you mentioned, but again, it was just very, very, very well done.
Yeah. Now that we're done talking about that, let's just end the show. Well, and I promise you, we're going to make sure that we talk about, since you're covering the Washington Commanders, let's just give a little state of Commanders, because let's face it, they were struggling at the beginning. Taylor Heineke turned that team around, and then you tied with the Giants. You tied and lost to my Giants, and you got smoked by the 49ers earlier this week.
Ooh, fighting words.
Why I put those highlights of the Commanders and 49ers to start off the show. But yeah, thoughts of the Commanders season. Give a state.
Yeah. I'll just say this. The Commanders right now, they control their own destiny. They've got 2 home games coming up that they need to win. First, against the Cleveland Browns, and then secondly, against their arch nemesis, the Dallas Cowboys. I think luckily for Washington, they're playing a Browns team who they're out of the playoffs. We don't know if they're going to be playing all their starters and veterans. So that might be helpful for them. I think the biggest thing for the Commanders is going to be needing to stop the run. No, I know the game against 49ers was not good. They gave up 30 points in the second half. You could never do that. And they lost to Brock Purdy, who was able to hit George Kittle. And I mean, Brandon Ayuk, like the 49ers, just the 49ers are one of those scary teams. So all that to say, I think the Browns teams can be stopped if the Commanders can stop the run. They were able to stop Christian McCaffrey. Rafique, he was held to 58 yards from scrimmage. And then Davis Price, I think, got about 30 yards. So that's the one thing kind of the defense did well, but it's going to be trying to cover the middle of the field. The secondary is hurt. Cam Curl has been out. When he's out, the Commanders usually lose those games. So he's a big piece of the puzzle. Benjamin St-Juste getting hurt early. Chase Young coming back has also been big. What can he continue to do to make a difference? And as you said, is it going to be Taylor Heinicke or Carson Wentz? So my thought is going to be Carson Wentz now taking the snaps at quarterback for these next two games, unless he either gets injured or unless he plays bad. Because I think, Taylor Heinicke can be the next guy up. But as long as, I think the biggest question with the Commanders is how good can the offensive line play? They had some penalties the last game. They weren't able to do some blocking. So again, there's just big questions there, but the offensive line is going to have to protect whatever quarterback is back there for Washington to give the quarterback some time and to also help to get that run game back going, which was so strong until that 49ers game.
Exactly. And well, obviously the 49ers have been on a hot streak.
Yeah. 8 straight.
That Tristan McCaffrey pickup was big for them. I mean,
it was, and they already had weapons, right?
They're going to be hungry, and sadly, my Giants, we have to face them. We might face them in the playoffs when we clinch the seed, but I don't want to face the 49ers this time around.
Yeah, and they did that without Deebo Samuel, right? I mean, the 49ers are that scary team. And I think, when you first saw Brock Purdy going back there, right, Mr. Irrelevant, some teams probably thought, oh, yes, Jimmy G's out. We got this. But Brock Purdy has been doing the job that needs to be done. And now there's going to be some bigger quarterback questions in San Francisco. So all that to say, this is a team that is scary. George Kittle hitting his groove at the right time of the season. He's been hard to stop. So all I have to say, again, the 49ers have weapons, and it's just going to be, and then also they have the number one defense. Nick Bosa being able to get his way. He's having one of the best seasons of his career, chasing Michael Strahan's record right now for sacks. So all that to say, the 49ers are a dangerous football team.
Yeah, real dangerous indeed. And let's talk about your Baltimore Ravens. Since I know that's the team you're supporting the most, give us stay in the Baltimore Ravens and your own impressions about the way the team's looking so far. Because they've had games where they took 14-point leads to both Buffalo and Miami, but they've turned the tide ever since. And they may not win the division because Cincinnati got that.
Yeah, Cincinnati looks good. Right
but
now,
at the very least, you got somewhat of an easier matchup against whoever comes out in the AFC South, whether it's the Jacksonville Jaguars, who's been low-key hot, or the Tennessee Titans, who suck during the postseason. So, thoughts?
The AFC North is interesting. As you said, right now, Cincinnati has the lead, but let's remember Baltimore plays Cincinnati in the last game of the season. So that's going to be a very important game. Baltimore beat Cincinnati the first time around. The biggest question in Baltimore is the offense. And a big question why is because Lamar Jackson has been out. Now you got Tyler Huntley, a.k.a. Snoop, at the helm. And, you have to make the offense move. I think we saw a frustrated Mark Andrews the last game for Baltimore. He's not targeted as much with Snoop as he was with Lamar Jackson. Mark Andrews was Lamar Jackson's favorite target, right? He was one of the most utilized tight ends. That was also dangerous because that means he was getting double coverage and stuff like that, which means Lamar was throwing into tight spaces, which also sometimes resulted in turnovers. Something Baltimore has to get going is their wide receivers. It's crazy. I don't know if you heard the stat, Rafique. The Ravens wide receiver hadn't scored a receiving touchdown since week 3. That's crazy stat when you think about it. So there's been a lot of questions. There's been a lot of people hitting the panic button on Greg Roman and this offense, but this offense is going to have to be more dynamic. They have the weapons. They have Sammy Watkins back. They have DeMarcus Robinson. They have Deshaun Jackson, who they picked up for the deep ball. You got to keep those guys active in the game. And I think the biggest thing they're going for Baltimore, they've got a great run game in J.K. Dobbins. Oh, and by the way, the Gus Edwards. So Baltimore has it on paper, but it just seems like, to your point, sometimes it just doesn't pan out on the games. And also the defense has stepped up in a better way. As you said, the defense has given up big leads this season. Sometimes the secondary has gotten smoked. The secondary staying healthy is also going to be important for Baltimore. But picking up Smith has been huge for Baltimore. And the way him and Patrick Queen play has been fun to watch. So all that to say, I think the defense is going to have to continue, though, to get turnovers. Tyler Huntley is a backup quarterback. He can get the job done, but he is not Lamar Jackson. But if they want to fight for that top spot, they are in the playoffs. But if they want to fight for that top spot, they're only going to be as good as Tyler Huntley is. Quarterback play is so important right now in the National Football League.
Yeah, and they're only going to be as good as Lamar Jackson takes them. And they
when he comes back, right?
He hasn't really had much success in the postseason in recent years. But you know what? But if all the stuff you just said comes together, especially the defense, they could actually make a deep run at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's those teams. Remember, the postseason is a different beast, and as you said, something that cloud that's been over Lamar Jackson's head is his postseason success. I think he knows he has to get that monkey off the back, because let's remember, folks, Lamar Jackson is about to get paid by the Baltimore Ravens or somebody, so this is very important for him to continue to prove himself, because he did bet on himself. I think it's going to be very telling for the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens are a team that even when they're playing bad, you just can never fully count them out. They just seem to have somehow, some way get there. So again, I think they can be a dangerous team if Lamar Jackson is able to come back healthy and be the Lamar Jackson that we know he can be.
Yeah, but again, let's not forget, Baltimore's had some good wins this season. I mean, they beat the New England Patriots. They smoked the Jets. That's the beginning of the year. Well,
at the beginning, right? They played Joe Flacco.
My New York Giants, even though they are the only franchise to defeat my Giants in Super Bowl. We're not going to.
And that was a game. I know. Oh yeah, look, we remember that Super Bowl. That was a legendary one. But to your point, the Giants game was a perfect example of when the defense let the Giants get back into that right come back win. So I think that's just super important for Baltimore to have to see. It's funny. Baltimore used to be a team that wouldn't relinquish a lead, so you used to hate them trailing. But now they have a problem keeping the lead, and so that's why again they're going to have to just figure out how the defense can step up and how the offense is going to have to keep scoring. Luckily, too, now problem with Baltimore right now, something that they haven't had that I'm worried about. Justin Tucker he's had 2 games now where he's had kicks blocked. That does not happen to Justin Tucker, right? One of the goats in the kicker position. So I think that's something Baltimore is going to have to clean up as well, because you got it. And Tuck we trust is what we say in Baltimore. And Justin Tucker is also a large reason why the Baltimore Ravens have won football games, because they play a lot of close football games. And when you have a kicker like Justin Tucker, you feel pretty safe winning that game and moving on.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's crazy, and I hope that Baltimore actually steps it up big time. I mean, these are big final 2 weeks of the NFL season for all these teams.
They are.
Your favorite team, the team you're covering, and my favorite team. So
there we go.
Let's see.
It's time. One of the best times of the year.
And well, to wrap it up once and for all, like, what do you expect for yourself in the coming 2023? I mean, you got your job at Bally Sports. You probably gonna have some Super Bowl coverage coming up, like you did when you covered it last year. Like, what are your expectations for yourself as a sports reporter in 2023?
Yeah, I just want to continue to keep growing. I'm hoping for and give me one sec. We're live, Rafique. My computer is about to die, so I am going to plug it up so I don't lose you. All right, there we go. I don't want to lose you. Sorry about that. So I think for me in 2023, I think the biggest thing is just personal continued growth. I'm excited to get my podcast back on track, going back to weekly shows. I am building out my Listen In with K&N team. So looking forward to so many exciting guests. As you mentioned, I'm looking forward to more national coverage and, talking in different areas. This year I've had the privilege of talking, on just big shows such as SNY, the Josh Murrow Crib Show in Cleveland. I want to continue that. I've had the opportunity to speak to just in so many different cities as someone who has, been deemed as a Washington sports expert. So that's been super fun for me. And I think for me too, just covering more, I think being on sidelines more, I expect to see that, seeing me more in studio, doing more coverage with HBCU sports, which I'm super excited about. And something you touched on too. I want to do more with women's sports. So definitely look out for that Super Bowl. Super excited about. Hopefully Arizona is nice and warm, much like LA was as well. And hopefully we're in for a good game. So folks have a lot that they can follow and expect, and just follow my journey, KelseyNicoleNelson.com.
Yeah, the Super Bowl is going to be in Arizona this season coming up, and you know what? If you're covering the Super Bowl, I look forward to watching the interviews you get, because I watched because I watched a little bit of some of the interviews you had when you was covering the Super Bowl last year. I mean, hopefully this time you're in the arena interviewing the players, not just on the radio row.
Yeah, I think that's what's fun about the Super Bowl. So last year, getting a chance to go to first off, SoFi Stadium is one of the most beautiful stadiums. If you have not been to SoFi,
I've not been to SoFi. I've been in Los Angeles, but I haven't been to SoFi.
Anybody out there? I mean, beautiful stadium. And of course, at game day, it's even more prolific because they do all the decorations. But it was just amazing. I think something cool too. Fun fact: close to SoFi, close to where SoFi Stadium is actually close to where they're building the new home of the Los Angeles Clippers.
Los Angeles Clippers, yeah.
So the Clippers is going to be right there. So that's a nice out in Inglewood, in California. So it's actually going to be super nice once that's complete. And actually super excited, talking about exciting things. I'm super excited to see the Los Angeles Clippers get their own home arena. Something special of having your own, right? And not sharing it, because we know, whether they want to call it the old Staples Centers or Crypto.com Arena, just, that's Lakers. That's Lakers. So I'm excited to see the Clippers kind of building out and cementing their own legacy. But as you mentioned, there's nothing like covering Super Bowl. It starts at Radio Row. Radio Row is probably the busiest you'll ever be all year. You're doing nonstop interviews, like continuously, which is so much fun. And then being able to just be in the stadium, whether you're working it or as a fan. I mean, again, there's nothing like Super Bowl. I don't care what nobody says. There's nothing like Super Bowl. It's like the biggest game of the year, at least in America. There's nothing like Super Bowl. I think, you could say the World Cup might be one of the top ones, right, in the world, because it's international. Soccer is an international sport, but here in America, there's nothing like the big game. So super excited about that. And I think this year too, it's going to be even more fun because of the competition that we're seeing in both the NFC and the AFC. It's been really fun to watch. I think whatever teams get there, I think, there's been a lot of big surprises. A lot of people thought we might have Green Bay there. They've obviously been struggling, though they might get their way into the playoffs. Maybe the Rams have been like the biggest surprise for a lot of folks. People thought maybe we get a repeat, and you see what's happened to them. And now Baker Mayfield at the helm. The Cardinals have been a surprise, I think, for so many people. I mean, there's just so many teams, the Buccaneers, when Tom Brady, I mean, there's just been so many teams, Rafique, that people kind of automatically thought would go so far, that this year, they've just been challenged. There's been questions. And then, you have these unknowns, like you have the Chiefs who, maybe not everyone's talking about them, but the Chiefs continue to be the Chiefs, so there's just so many storylines, and Brock Purdy, maybe. I mean, there's just so many, Taylor Heineke, there's so many guys too that have been continuing to make a name for themselves. I think that's why the Super Bowl is going to be even that much more fun to cover.
Yeah, man. I mean, and some of the mind things I hope to happen. Well, I can't wait to see what you do. Well, I can't wait to see what you do, who you bring on the listening with KNN, and hopefully obviously covering the Super Bowl, at least the radio.
Thank you so much, Rafique. I appreciate your support. It means a lot.
And I'm going to talk to Renee Washington about obviously getting some content together for Playing to Not Buried. I mean, I gave her some ideas. Hopefully it comes out.
Yay! I'm looking forward to your coverage next year. So that's gonna be exciting.
Hopefully this time it leads to actually a paid opportunity, because as Baker said, you work for free for a long time. I work for free for a long time. It's time to start working for another company. I mean, that part. And I'm glad Ashley said that, because it's also about putting people in positions for that. I refer people all the time for what your point is, paid positions. And that's why it's so important too for all of us to look out for each other and make sure that we're helping our fellow journalists get that. Because as you said, you've been putting in work, and you've put in a lot of good, hard work. So why should you not be getting paid for your contribution? So yes, we're manifesting it. We're speaking into existence, and we're going to say it's going to happen. Make sure you watch my stuff a little bit more, and I watch your stuff. That's all I got to say.
I got you. It's watching it, but it's honestly so much more. It's sharing it. It's putting it in different groups. Like, I think that's what it is. I mean, social media now, you can reach so many people. And the power of a share and a like, it goes so far. So I think, that's what it is too. It's not just, keeping it in your text or keeping it in your messages. It's so much of that. But I think also just, making sure you stay on people. So many, people send me stuff all the time. And I always tell people, like, stay on me. Even tonight, I need to later review some resumes and some videotapes that people have sent. Like, it's so much, but it's so important to me because, again, I know what it is I've grinded my way here, and I'm still grinding. And so it's so important for anybody that's had to do that, to make sure that, they have support from up above. I know you're a member of the National Association of Black Journalists. We have a great group chat and Slack where people put their work in. Like, it's just so important for all of us to continue to uplift and push and support each other.
Exactly. And to all the balls out there, get your head in the game.
There you go.